Today's lesson is about the central or main idea of a narrative story. The main idea or central message is what the story is mostly about, or the big idea the author wants you to understand. We'll talk about that more in just a little bit. The story you will be reading today is Tim Asks Questions. Before we begin reading, we always need to understand what the objective of our lesson is. The approaches to learning today is communication. Today, your brain will grow as we read critically for comprehension, cite evidence using the magnifying glass bookmark, describe how the story's plot unfolds, but mostly we will be focusing on determining the central or main idea of a text and how it is conveyed through particular details. Before we begin, we always need to know whether this is going to be an informational or a narrative. I've already told you it's a narrative, but to review, an informational text always gives you information. The different text structures are description, cause and effect, problem solution, chronology, and comparison. We won't be doing that today. We'll be doing a narrative. A narrative tells a story. When you have a story, you always want to look for the story structures, the character, setting, events, and theme. Turn to your shoulder partner, and based on the pictures in the title, tell your shoulder partner whether you think this is going to be fiction or nonfiction. Remember, fiction is something that is not true. Fiction is a false story, a made-up story. Nonfiction is true. Did you both decide that it was maybe a fiction story? Because that's what we'll be reading. There are characters, a setting, events, and a theme. Remember, before we start reading, we always have to remember that good readers use their toolbox. Your toolbox, the most important things for you today are that you'll be using your decoding strategies. Your decoding strategies are very important to make sure that you know how to say the words. When you come to a word you don't know, make sure you look at the letters from the left to the right. Think about the sounds for the letters and look for the word parts you know. Blend the sounds to read the word. Ask yourself, is it a word I know? Does it make sense in what I am reading? If not, ask yourself, what else can I try? When all else fails, skip the word and come back to it. Remember word learning. Word learning, the purpose of that is to determine the meaning of the word. If you don't know what the word is, look for context clues around the word that can give you the definition. And finally, strategies or skills. I will talk more about those right before you begin reading. Remember, we always predict what we believe will happen in the story. When we infer, we try to fill in the blanks with events or words we don't know. Question, evaluate, summarize story structure and text structure. The purpose for this is to understand the text and make connections. The story you will be reading is Tim Asks Questions. At this point, look at the title and the pictures. Turn to your shoulder partner and predict what you think the story will be about. Here are some more pictures that tell you a little bit more about the story. Now what do you think will happen? Look at each picture to decide. Let's go over some key vocabulary phrases that you may or may not know. The first word is store. Your turn. Store is a place you can buy things. Again, the word is store. Your turn. Shelf. Your turn. Shelf. A flat length of wood that holds objects for display. Again, the word is shelf. Your turn. That's right, shelf. To give someone a hand. Your turn. That's right. To give someone a hand is to help someone. Helping the older lady across the street. Helping her climb. Helping sweep the floor. Again, the word is to give someone a hand. Your turn. Rancher. Your turn. That's right, rancher. A person who works on a ranch or a farm. The word is rancher. Creek. Your turn. That's right, creek. It is a stream or small river. The word is creek. Path. Your turn. That's right, path. A small road. The word is path. Now let's review those reading strategies like I told you we would do. So the first one is to question. To question is to ask yourself, question or confirm as you read. Stop and ask yourself questions to see if the text makes sense. Reread the text if you need more information. Always question. Predict. Think about what will happen next. Use the title, the text, and illustrations to help you. Infer. Use your experience plus what you find in the text to figure out what you know. When you infer, use clues in the text and your own knowledge to fill in the gaps and draw conclusions. Always monitor and clarify. Reread, read ahead, and adjust the rate you read to self-connect or understand. And the last one is to connect. How do you relate? How do you connect? What does this remind you of? Think about what you already know about the text. Find ways to relate the text to yourself, other texts, or the world around you. These are always good reading strategies to use anytime you read. Good readers always use reading strategies. Now to get to the main idea. The central or main idea, like I mentioned previously, look at the title and pictures. Look for repeated words or phrases to find the main idea. You always ask who or what, who being a person, what being an item, did what. So who did what or what happened? Use your reading skills to find the author's most important message to the reader in the piece of text. Always remember to ask yourself who or what is this piece of text about? Then ask yourself, what did they do? What happened? Note the details for later when we're going to write a summary. Decide what is important. State the main idea in your own words. Remember, the main idea is one sentence. The last thing you will do after you read your text is you will write a summary. We call them IVFs. We identify, find the main verb, and then we finish. When you identify what you read. Use the main verb, how it happened, or who did what. Remember, you will begin with a topic sentence, which we covered in previous assignments. Then use transitions, first, next or then, and finally, to prove how this happened in the beginning, Prove again how else it happened in the middle. Prove again how this happened in the end. Remember, our text is Tim asks questions. Now it's your turn. Read the story Tim asks questions using your reading strategies. Identify the central or main idea. Write a summary or an IVF. Always ask your shoulder partner if you need help before you come ask me.